Appreciate everybody being here today. As we get pretty close now. This is maybe a little later than some years that we've had the media day, so we're getting pretty close to getting going. Two staff updates or a couple comments on our staff, and then we will get to your questions. So this summer, when contracts got done, we have promoted PJ Hogan to associate head coach on our staff. That's been in the works for quite some time, really since the time that Kyle Green left here and went to Iowa State. The people that are familiar with our program would certainly know that PJ has been here for the better part of 20 years, and he has had a tremendous impact on everything that we have done, everything that we do each day. His approach to relationships, his approach to recruiting, his loyalty, how much he cares about our program, our players, is off the charts, and it has been. So something that PJ has earned a long time ago, but able to get that done and through from a contract standpoint this past summer. So happy to be able to share that with everybody. The other note on the staff, we had a recruiting weekend a couple weekends ago, and I overheard one of our players. I think he was talking with the recruit or their family, and he said, "Look, we have the best staff in the country," and for me, I would tell you that that he is 100% correct. I touched on PJ, G, Seth, Ike, Haley, Carter, Austin Fife. As we know, last year some student assistant stuff. This year working in a similar role and taking grad classes. Our student managers, Stacia Eggers, our academic advisor, and so much more. Don Bishop, our trainer. Brandon Ronan, our strength coach. We have got just an unbelievable group of people taking care of our guys, and I could not be more thankful, more grateful that this is the group that is working with our team. So thanks to them, and they continue to do just an unbelievable job. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. We'll get to your questions if that's okay.
Well, Ben, in what ways do you anticipate, or have you seen already in preseason, that this team will be perhaps different than last year's team?
The thing that you feel the most is that we're older, right? And we are, of course, with the number of players that we have back. Nate back from his injury, also the addition of Jacob Hudson, who has been in college already for 3 years before he gets here, and then the players that we were coaching last year and that made up our team a year ago, all of them but James Betts and Derek Krogman being back. So you feel that. The competition at practice has been high. It's something that we talk about a lot. We've used the phrase iron sharpens iron, and that we want everybody playing their best. We talked to the guys. We've pushed them a lot in terms of getting in shape. We've talked about having everybody playing their best on October 1st. We talked about it this month, about everybody playing their best on November 1st, so that our practices are as competitive and at as high a level as they can be. And we went over and scrimmaged Wisconsin on Saturday, and we felt like we got a lot out of it, and felt like it was a good scrimmage, a good workout for both teams, good competitive game. But we felt good about our practices. We liked the way our guys competed, and that's a direct result of how you practice. So those would be the two things, Cole, that probably stand out the most.
What areas do you feel you'd be stronger at this season?
Well, we knew the one that we have to be stronger in is at the defensive end. We were awful last year defensively, and that Austin, and we've talked about Austin's story, and so we're all familiar with it. Prior to or up till a certain point, he was still working to get back last year, right? And then Nate breaks his finger, and you're talking about two experienced high-level defenders, right? So we're down two of our guys that can handle their business by themselves, great team defenders, and then you get really young after that. And we knew Trey, Landon, Mike were going to play as freshmen, not knowing what that role was going to be, but we certainly knew that they were going to have an impact on our team last year. but now they're playing a lot. And James Betts is our starting center and not at the same size as an Austin Fife. So we had some challenges without those two players. But at the same time, we made a lot of mistakes. Right? Now we got better. We were better defensively, down the stretch the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we got better. But we've got to. It started there. We've spent a lot of time working at it. We spent a lot of time talking about it, watching film, putting things together so we can be, so that we have got a defensive team that we can count on. Right? That you can count on getting stops when you have to get them.
Coach, you mentioned those three freshmen that played a lot last year, Trey, Landon, and Mike. Usually a big jump in improvement from freshman to sophomore year. Can you address or talk about those three and the improvements you've seen?
Yeah, Trey's playing with a high level of confidence, and he's always had a quiet confidence about him. It's a little more. You see it a little bit more now. Right? He's been more consistent at practice in terms of the level that he's playing at, and we've challenged him to do that. We've asked him to be more aggressive, more assertive at the offensive end, whether it's to create something for himself, create something for his teammates. So we're overall, KL, we've asked him to consistently be the guy that he feels like and we feel like he can be, and he's done that a lot. Landon is, he's shooting the ball as good as I've seen him shoot, and I've been watching him for a long time, of course, with the high school stuff. So it's been a number of years that I've been watching Landon play. This is the most consistent and the best that he has shot the basketball. And as we know, he's a high level shooter. He's improving defensively and working really hard at that. He's a better defender than he was a year ago, and working every day to keep improving at that end. And then Mike, he's all three of them put together good freshman years, but Mike obviously was, being I think he was second in the voting probably to Cade Tyson. He just does so many things, and he's better in the way of the game has slowed down for him a little bit, but I felt like the last 4, 5, 6 weeks it had already done that for him, where he was just flat playing. Right? He wasn't thinking about much. He was playing, having a real impact, and so that's probably the spot where Mike has continued. As the game is maybe comes just a little easier than it did a year ago from a feel standpoint, and then he spent a lot of time shooting the basketball. Okay, and he's had a good stretch, a really good stretch, shooting the basketball from the three-point line, and something we've talked about a lot. Something that Mike wants and knows that he needed to work at, so teams can't run under every time he gets a handoff, every time he comes off a ball screen, just run under it and not worry about him shooting that shot. Or sitting down in there and helping on Titan, or now Jacob feeling like he isn't going to shoot it. We've encouraged him to shoot that shot a lot in practice, and he's had a good stretch there.
Looking at how young you guys were or ended up being last year, how much older does this team feel just from maybe 9 months ago even?
Yeah, a lot. A couple things that I would tell you that have happened with taking the trip to Brazil this summer. So we, with that trip, you can take once every 4 years. You get 10 extra practices, and then on the trip, we played 4 games while we were on the trip, but able to spend the better part of 10, 11 days together. That I feel like has been an important part of it. And then this fall, well, a couple things, and I'll go back to our staff. Again, with our guys that are doing almost all of it, the majority of it, in terms of work with the players, Seth, G, PJ, the work that they do with these guys is, and I think I've said it already, it's off the charts, right? And so they get better, and having the extra time in the summer help. But this fall, like they're in the gym with these guys, and I'm watching some of these workouts, and I'm just, I get a smile on my face because they are getting better. Like those 3 guys really know how to coach, and that matters. And then you still got to sort it out a little bit, right? And I've learned this over the course of time. It doesn't matter how many players you've got back. Right? Each team is a new team, right? And so you've got to sort it out a little bit. And one of the key areas that has to get sorted out is your leadership, right? And I'll go back to the extra time benefiting us, but that's a piece that has come a long ways, even in the last 3 or 4 weeks, probably come the farthest here in the last 3 or 4 weeks with Bowen, Titan, Nate in particular, but also Cole and Drew, and then Huddy, even though he's in his first year with us, he's older, right? And he's got a great feel. So we've got 6 older players that are a part of that leadership for us, and we've started to feel that more in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
How does leadership get developed in general, and how specifically has it happened with this team?
Yeah, our deal has always been you got to be who you are, right? Now there's things we're going to talk about. There's things that you're going to be more comfortable with when I say be who you are, right? Some guys are much more outgoing, right? Some guys are in the middle. Some guys don't wear their emotions on their sleeve, right? And they would rather do it with their actions, right? So you've got all 3, and you maybe have another category in there as well, but the 3 bigger categories. And we've always encouraged our guys to be who they are, right? Knowing that as you go through our program, your leadership is going to increase, right? You can't be the same guy from a leadership standpoint when you're a 4th-year guy, when you're a 5th-year guy, as you were when you were a 1st-year guy or a 2nd-year guy, right? So we're pushing that part of it, right? Really encourage them to be who they are. So when they're doing things, they do them with confidence, right? They're in a place where they're comfortable and confident with how they're approaching the leadership, and but they know as they go through our program that it's going to increase. It has to, right? I think we all have a pretty good understanding that the best teams are led by the players, right? Starting with me, my leadership really matters, right? The staff's leadership really matters, right? Leadership is unbelievable in terms of the importance, right, of being able to get things done, right? And it starts with me. The best teams I've played on, been an assistant coach or a head coach, the leadership from within the team, the player-led teams, are the hardest ones to beat, right? So we're always working on that. We're always pushing that with our guys.
Coach, not having Austin out there again last year kind of left this team with a pretty big lack of size and experience kind of in the middle. Having guys like Cole and Chase with that extra year of experience under their belts, how much will that help this team, especially defensively?
Yeah, that's been a big part of it on, I would say, on 2 fronts, right? And now with Jacob Hudson here with us, right, it gives us a player who is most similar in size to Austin, right? And his abilities defensively, right? He can guard his guy. For the most part, he's going to be able to play a lot of guys one-on-one, right? He's got a tremendous feel, the same way Austin did. So he's always helping. He's always thinking about where he can, clog some things up, pick up for some of his teammates. So the addition of Jacob Hudson is proven to be important and big for our lineup. And then Cole's experience shows up every day at practice, right? And he's working really hard right now to get in the best shape that he's been in. But his experience has been important for us and going to be really important for us as we think about this year. And then I tell you, Chase is having his best practices. He just keeps getting better. He finds himself right now behind Jacob Hudson, behind Cole Henry. Wes Rubin as a freshman has really done a nice job at that spot. So there's some rotation stuff there for Chase. But we just sat down again the other day and talked about it. Like this is the best that he has played. And same, I talked about Landon, having watched the Cedar Falls guys. I've seen those guys a lot, right, over the years, and really proud of what Chase is doing. And his impact right now is more at practice. But I mentioned it once already. Like it was a good competitive 40 minutes against Wisconsin. I think both teams got a lot out of it. And one of the reasons why we feel like we played well was the way in which we've practiced. And Chase has been a big part of that. Right?
In your flow offense, you ask a lot of that big at the top, at the elbow, in terms of distributing and orchestrating the offense. How has Jacob, I would imagine he's been in that role, how has he taken to that? What growth have you seen? What's he been challenged with at that spot?
Yeah, I would start with when he was a freshman, not base offense flow, but some similar concepts when he was playing for Loyola. Right? And he was playing alongside or backing up Krutwig, who was one of the better bigs to, he and Fife went through those years together, and 2 of the best bigs in the country. So he was with Krutwig for a year and some flow concepts, so he's got that background. He's picked it up well in the time that he's been here. He's got the abilities, the skill level. He's got the sense and the feel for it, and he loves it. He's a worker. Right? So he's in the gym. He spent a lot of time with Seth. He spent a lot of time with our staff to pick up as much of the nuances as you can before you get started playing. His work ethic is really, really high, and that's helped him pick some of those things up. But The other thing's very important, right? Yeah, having a good sense, having a good feel. He's got some of that background, so he's done a very good job.
Following up on that, you had mentioned during the Valley Summer call about the need for the offense to throw it on the block more. Is that something you guys can do within flow, set plays, and what's the early returns in preseason practice getting the ball on the block?
Yeah, both of those areas, in flow, in some depending on how you're being guarded. If they're going to get out and stop you and you throw it behind you, you want to be able to have that center, hit that seal and throw it into them. But really, no matter how it's defended, you've got opportunities if you've got guys at that spot that can find that body and get that seal. Right. So yes, in flow, we've seen more of those touches here with Huddy being with us. Our set plays, we've got some, maybe a little bit. Some of the ones we've run, I don't know, we've added a bunch yet that we haven't run for a little while, and those have been good. The other area is our transition stuff, and we've talked a lot going back to the summer. We've talked a lot about moving the ball up the floor with the pass, and can we throw it right into Titan, or can we throw it right into Jacob? Wes has proven to be a hard guy to play against in practice on the block. So we've got some guys that can we get it out off the rim on a miss, or can we get it out of bounds after a make and get it up the floor with the pass and throw it right inside? And we saw enough of Titan last year, right? We've all got a ton of confidence in his ability to put pressure on teams and score around the basket and get fouled. And Jacob is. Last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe in particular, you've felt it and you've noticed it this summer and early on, guys. But the last 2 or 3 weeks in particular, he's really, you've really noticed it. He's catching it and taking his time, and he's getting baskets, or they're got to double him a little bit. So we do that. That needs to be a part of it, right? You got to be able to throw it down there.
Coach, I made the rounds on media days and the official Zooms. A big rule change in block charge.
Yeah.
Did you see that at all in your scrimmage, or have you make any adjustments because of that? Because now you have to be set before the shooter plants the foot versus leaves the floor.
Yeah. This is the first, I think, the first time we've gone through our practices, KL, and not done our drill where you're taking charges. Right? For that exact reason. That rule change. For a secondary defender to get in position to take a charge now, you've got to be there so early, right, that it's, two things. One, you've got to be there so early that I don't know if you can get there. And the other is, with that kind of rule change and the emphasis that they're putting on it, I don't know if the officials are going to call it. So you've got both things going right now. And not as they sort it out. And you see it with other rule changes, right? You get a rule change and there's some time, the flop call, right? Everybody's looking around like, well, okay, what's a flop and what isn't? And then they stopped calling it. And that's not on the guys officiating the games per se, right? That's everybody, right? That's the rules committee. It's us as coaches. It's the officials that are officiating it. So this one I think is going to take a little time to get sorted out. I was talking with the guys that did our game, before the game, and they just said, you got to get there really, really early. If you're not standing there and you aren't still, when he gets onto that foot, that first plant foot, it's a block.
On the other side, though, offensively, then, are you trying to take advantage of that and be more aggressive going to the rim?
Yeah, we've talked about that maybe just a little bit, KL, in terms of the rule change. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, aside from the rule change, we've talked about it a lot. Right? So is it the same message? Yes. Right? But we've got some guys that can get there. Right? And Nate's a guy that can do it. Bowen's a guy that can do it. RJ can turn the corner a little bit. Titan's a guy that, as we've seen with Titan, he's going to get there. RJ, did I mention RJ already? Yeah. We're pushing Trey to be able to do some of that. So it is something that we're pushing, KL. I think maybe we push that every year, right? You get that ball in the paint and good things are going to happen. I know we touched on throwing it down there to some guys, but you get it there any way you can, and good things are going to happen.
You mentioned a couple of times the scrimmage against Wisconsin, not knowing what they lost in this last offseason. How do you feel coming out of that game compared to last year, getting to see your team against the same opponent 2 years in a row?
Yeah, that's a great question. Nate had just broke his finger, right? And Fife was not playing. Is Fife in here? Right? Fife, you were out by then, right? By the time we went there, right? Yeah, we had already sorted through that, of course, but Nate had just broke his finger. Right? So now you go into that game, and Ege played in that game as a freshman. Trey's a true freshman. He started that game, and he's playing against Chucky Hepburn, who'd already been in the Big Ten for, I think, 2 years. Either one for sure. Right? And it was a great experience for Trey, but it was a challenge. Right? As a true freshman to play against a really good Big Ten guard right out of the gates. You felt that last year, where this year, if I just stay on that, just very different. Trey's a very different player today than he was a year ago, starting 30-plus games and playing the minute. Like he's a very different player, very different person than he was a year ago. So you feel that part of it. I mentioned Ege, who was playing as a freshman. James and Cole and Krogs were playing at that center spot, and Cole had played for us, but James really hadn't played a lot of minutes. Krogs hadn't played any minutes. That's the biggest thing. Without going through all the spots, that felt the most different. Is that we've got and it's again the obvious. We have an older team than we had a year ago, but because you're older doesn't mean that you're going to feel it in the way that you need to, and because you're older doesn't mean you're going to play better. Right? We're practicing better. Right? We played better in the scrimmage. We're older, but we're better, and that I think is the most important part.
Coach, you may ask this in St. Louis, but last year, the first time the Valley was a 20-game league schedule. So after looking back on that, what's your thoughts on going from 18 to 20? The advantage, disadvantage, of course, it helps your scheduling because you get 2 more quality opponents. But
yeah.
What's your thought in 18 to 20?
Yeah, it's good, but including Northern Iowa, we have to have more teams inside the top 100 when we get to conference games. I mean, it doesn't do any good to play each other if most of the teams are outside the top 100 or outside the top 200. It does no good to play each other. Right? In terms of getting an at-large bid, the hard part for our league right now is that no matter what the net rankings are, the games are hard. They're hard games to win. Okay? No matter who you're playing against, the games are hard. Right? So if we're going to put back to maybe more of your question, if we're going to play 20, and we've talked about this as coaches, right? And it gets talked about a lot in the league office, right? And amongst the athletic directors, you need to have more teams. Okay, think about the Power 5 schools, right? Let's say they've got 14 or leagues. They've got 14 schools, and you got 8 or 9 of them inside the top 50. Well, you might as well play each other 30 times. Because all you're going to do is increase your odds of getting an at-large bid. So that's the part that we've got to keep a really close eye on. Right? I mean, the competition and the quality of the players and the coaching and how difficult the games are, it's tremendously high level. Right? But if you're going to get, for our league right now, if you're going to get a second team into the NCAA tournament, you can't be playing each other 20 times if most of those games are quad 2, 3, and some 4. You following me? Like, that's the challenge right now that we've got to keep a really close eye on.
But along those lines, though, it's getting more difficult for you to get those games, quad 1, quad 2s, in non-league. And the rest of your league, you're doing it. The rest of your league's having real trouble.
I think everybody's working hard to try to find a couple of them, KL. And we've gotten into a good run with our non-conference tournaments, and obviously the battle for Atlantis this year again. It'll be the 3rd time we've been down to the Bahamas for it, and some of the other tournaments that we play in. And we'll take some other games. North Texas, right? It's the last game we take. Like, it's done. Like, we already got 3 road games, and we got the battle for Atlantis. Right? Now, it's what our guys want to do. Right? Our guys want to be in position to get in that large bid. So North Texas has been terrific for a long time. It's one of those games that if you can go down there and get the job done, it can help you get in that large bid. So when I say it's dumb from the standpoint of putting together a non-conference schedule by the playbook. Okay, you wouldn't play 4 road games and 3 neutral games of your 11 like that. But our guys are here go to the NCAA tournament. And the way to get there is to play those games. And there's other teams in our league that are working hard to play those games. Okay, we're not alone in that. The first thing you said though is important. They're harder to get. Right? That's the part. I mean, they're harder to get. So as a league, we got to work hard to get the right, get as many as we can and get enough of them that it matters in terms of the net rankings. Because I mean, for the most part, the ones you're getting are on the road or in the multi-team events at our neutral site, right? We're not getting them at home around the league, right? None of us are. We're not getting the top 50 net ranking teams at home. So it's a challenge. Next question. I can go on and on about that one. Next question.
You seem very confident that this will be a pretty good team. What's going to happen for that to occur?
Practice like crazy. Yeah, I mean, we do. We have a good team. Right? Now, they want to be great. If you're going to be a great team, you got to practice like crazy. Like that's, I mean, that, and there's going to have to be a little give and take. If things continue the way they are, depth is going to be a real positive for us, okay? In order for it to be a big-time difference maker, there's some give and take when you get there. And we're not there yet. Like, I don't know how it's going to shake out when we get to November 7th, if we're going to play 7 guys or 9 guys or 11. Like, I don't know that. Okay? We know what we're seeing in practice, and we feel like we've got a team that's going to have quality depth. Okay? But for it to really be a difference maker for us, there's going to have to, you got to give a little bit of yourself, okay? No matter who you are, if you're starting or a first guy off the bench or a third, fourth, fifth guy off the bench, like there's that, you got to be all in it for the team. And the one thing that I can tell you right now is we got the right group of guys, and they are. But like I said, when you asked it, the first thing, Mark, that comes to mind is you got to practice like crazy. Like you got to be going at it if you're going to get great, and these guys want to.
By nature, it comes with its critics, but how about being picked second in the preseason poll?
Yeah,
I know it means a lot.
Yeah, that ranks right up there with our fantasy football tonight. My kicker has to get more points than the Minnesota kicker. I've got the San Francisco kicker, and if he does better than the Minnesota kicker, then I get to win my fantasy game this week. That ranks right up there. Now, here's what the only thing I would say, Cole, is we've always preferred to be picked first. Right? First, second, third is good, right? You're going to be picked somewhere, right? Our preference is to be picked first. I mean, if not first, second, if not second, third. Like that's always been our preference. Right?
Looking at your recruiting, you mentioned you got the right group. This freshman class includes a kid from Michigan, a kid from Illinois, a kid from Missouri. How has your recruiting philosophy changed as new rules have come down in terms of name, image, likeness, transfer portal? How has your recruiting philosophy changed?
Yeah, big picture, the philosophy has stayed the same in terms of recruiting high school players. Right? The decision that needed to be made or by every school is: are we going to recruit a lot of high school players? At least for the ones that have been recruiting high school players, right? Which was, are we going to keep doing it that same way? Which we have over the course of our time. We've recruited the majority of our guys have been high school players. Are you going to save some scholarships for the spring now and work through the transfer portal? And that big philosophy type question needed to be answered. And we made the decision right away that we're going to continue to recruit high school players. And I'll go back to my staff. Like they've continued to knock it out of the park. Like we're getting some dudes, and it's been great. And we're signing 2 more guys in November that are high school seniors, and they're really good players. And so that's the decision we made, and we understand the challenges. There are teams in our league, that some still recruiting a lot of high school players. There's some that are kind of got a mix. You're going to recruit a high school player too, but they're going to get 2 or 3 guys in the portal. And then there's some that are going more, 3, 4, 5 in the spring. When you go that way, you can have an older team every year. Right? So when you continue to go our way, every once in a while, you're going to get a little younger. Especially a year ago when you think you got one of the best centers in the country and one of the best 2-way players, right? And one's out for medical reasons, and the other breaks his finger. And now you got young guys that you were hoping to give maybe 1 more year until they were full-time guys, right? They were ready to play, but you understand where I'm headed with that. So when you recruit high school players, that can jump up and get you a little bit. But we made the decision, through some conversations, but pretty quickly, that we were going to continue to recruit high school players.
Are there greater returns in recruiting high school players?
It's a great question. I think when you win championships and you play in the NCAA tournament, that the returns probably feel pretty similar. I hadn't thought about it exactly that way, Ethan. I had to. I know for us, having guys for 4 and 5 years, and now with COVID 6 or 5, 7, I know for us, it's been a big deal. Right? That's what we've built this program on, and it has been a big deal for us. Okay? In terms of saying the rewards being greater, if you get it done this way in a given year for a championship, the NCAA tournament, a Final Four, as opposed to a team that found the right guys in the spring and did it that way, I don't know that I can say that the rewards would be greater or better or worse.
And I'm thinking of roster construction. Still having some age and experience this year, but a roster where, in theory, everybody still has at least one more year available. Just how significant is that for what you can do this season and what you can build moving forward?
Yeah, I would tell you the guys are so focused on this year right now. Your thought is correct, and the point you make is correct that they can all come back and do it again. Okay, but the doing it right now, right? Finding out what do it again means, I guess, is the way I would put it to you. Let's figure out what we can get done right now. And they, like I said, they want to be great, right? And we got a lot of work to do to get there. But your point is correct in terms of the roster.
Backing on that, in today's college basketball, can you really look 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road?
Yeah, much more challenging today than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Even up until 2 years ago, when the transfer rule changed. Yeah, as soon as that changed, looking down the road very far became much more challenging. Right? But back to the 2 questions ago, continuing to recruit high school players and work really hard. We really believe in our guys, right? So we're going to continue to recruit the same way. We're going to continue to look down the road 2 years and 3 years, and with the understanding that our guys are going to come back, right? And they're going to come back for the right reasons. And so we are still looking down the road when we think about recruiting. Okay? Who's going to be a senior in 2 years? Who's going to be a senior in 3 years? We're still doing it. Right? More challenging today, but we're still doing it. Like I said, we really believe in our guys. Anybody else?